Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Karen, I'm so happy that you're here with me. Um, and
It's
that,
awesome to be here.
yay! And I'm so excited to introduce you. World, get ready. This is Karen McMullen, who is as a channel and a human design reading expert, among other things, but these two are really coming through a lot right now, and the author of 2 books, one in physical print already, Alchemy of Consciousness, and one being delivered now happens to be, because I'm not sure when you'll be listening to this or seeing this, now happens to be middle of May 2020, and Awaken to Your Starseed Mission is being released episode by episode on YouTube at the channel of Karen McMullen. Yes?
Yes.
Amazing. And I love this. I love this kind of by releasing things by channel, because what we're doing right now, someone might be hearing in audio form, a podcast, or seeing on YouTube. So I love this. We're coming into an age where communicating is becoming so accessible. And we're here gathered about one physical communication, that is the Showgirl Awakening deck of cards. And I'm so grateful, Karen, that you're going to be accessing and asking me questions about 3 cards in particular. We're only sure about one of them so far. And it's a card that's in the suit of receiving. So there's a suit of receiving in the deck. And one of the notes of receiving is orgasm. This is obviously just a little prototype card. You can maybe barely see it. Orgasm. And what I'm referring to when I say orgasm in the context of this deck is not limited to a direct physical sexual experience, like the orgasm that you might have in your clitoris or somewhere else in your body. It's the dancing, the dynamic interaction of the feminine principle and the masculine principle in any context. So when receptivity and assertiveness, when they're not fighting each other, when they're like, I feel what I call this orgasm when I'm excited about a project, and I literally feel in my body the action emerging, like the steps feel possible. I'm reaching in an active way, a structured way, and I'm alive with the sensual deliciousness of that project. Probably picking a more tangible thing would help, and I bet we can come up with a few. When they're both present, I literally get a tingle. I get a tingle in my belly. And if I stop and notice, that tingle probably can extend or is already extending. To me, that's orgasm. So it's a big family of experience. And I believe we can live in degrees of this state. I don't mean the state where, for example, if you're having an orgasm in a sexual context and you can't do it, like you can't be cooking your breakfast while you're having a big sexual orgasm. I mean we can have the level of orgasm that we're still cooking breakfast and we're walking to the store and we're washing our toenails or whatever we're doing, and we're having orgasm at the same time. I think that's how we were designed.
Awesome definition.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that because, well, in that definition, I see moments that I've had, even just in the last weeks, of elation, where, I can think of if I'm in a reading and I'm channeling for someone, but I know that what's coming through for them is a new structure that is going to absolutely make sense for their life and what they need right now. And then I leave and I'm just like, I feel that combination of what you said, of the masculine and feminine in this almost ecstatic elation.
Yay. Another word that comes to mind is ecstasy. Like ecstasy comes in all levels of um, degree, or yeah. And so I might think, oh, ecstasy. Uh, I have to be no ecstasy. We couldn't be running ecstasy, even when we're doing tasks that are. Meh, we can run ecstasy, and it's that. I think it's just a sweet attunement to. Um, oh, let me check here. Yeah, it's a sweet attunement to how I'm feeling. And I have a little harder time naming what the masculine component of that. How
I
I'm,
feel like it, I don't, from what you first said, like the other moment that came to mind for me was I just I've been having these moments of elation with doing my new YouTube channel because you and I met through a marketing course,
yeah,
and both of us are extremely creative people that could do a myriad of things.
yeah.
And you know, YouTube is this structure for sharing my work in the world that is actually really effective and it's really working. And like, I keep having these moments of being like, wow, I can't believe that I have this structure to let who I am flow through it. And it's so exciting. It's so elating that, and I haven't had that experience like in many times in the past. I've gone through a whole big long journey with the marketing and sales thing, and so I think it's about the structure that allows this feminine flow to just move through it.
Absolutely. Thank you. You're giving me a could have had a V8 moment, because of course the example that I will share, um, that I think of all the time, but I didn't remember just now until you said this. I know this the most through the creation and performance of a burlesque act. It's what made it accessible and to me, when I discovered burlesque 20 years ago, and what made it so enticing is I could tell, oh my gosh, within the 3 to 5 minutes of my song, I know the boundaries. I'm not taking anyone else's time, all these things so I'm not taking anyone else's space. This is my time. The song starts, and the stage or wherever I'm performing, these are the feet or the meters within which they're containing me, the song and the space. And yeah, it's the form, like the YouTube as a container, the act of as a container for my radiant essence to be poured into. It holds, yeah, it is the container. And that form holding is everything, especially for highly sensitive people. Who knows, we might talk about sensitive versus hardy. We might
I
just do
think,
that. We
I
might
think
not be the next card. It feels like it wants to be, but yeah, especially for highly sensitive folks. Yeah, that's so delicious. Can I muse on something and tell me if it feels true or not? Because I love that you mentioned where we met. And I just want to give a little plug to Tad Hargrave, who we love. And I want to actually invite Tad to join this interview series. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I know. Because
I
yeah,
think that Tad is really kind of that masculine advocate for, many people that just struggle to channel their creativity.
yes, yes. But I would say he does so with orgasm in the sense that I'm meaning, because he brings, um, it's not the hard drive marketing. And here's your template, and who are your people? Plug them in the plug them in the blanks. No, there's a great deep listening and receptivity, and and this drive towards bringing into form and into language and concreteness and clarity these very smooshy wooshy feminine offerings that many of his people have. Yeah. Yeah. But oh, I lost my train, which is so wonderful. My sweet brain. Lots of train tracks. But the coming back to,
you wanted to muse about something.
yes, this is it.
About how
And I don't know, we don't have to spend much time here, but when you were talking, and I would say, like, in the far past, when you were in marketing with a lot of form, like you had high form. So the masculine element had superseded the feminine. And then maybe for a period, I don't like to talk so diagnostically, but maybe for a period in reaction to that, you came to a period where there was so much flow, that the form was harder to catch, or the form was a little bit shunned. And now I just see you like radiating this full feminine masculine orgasm. That's what I see.
You know what? That totally makes sense. Yeah, because I mean, just for those of you that don't know me, I went through a period where I was coaching, but I was using, these high pressure sales techniques, and yeah, I was on stages selling, thousands of dollars of tuitions, and I was very successful monetarily, financially. And then I completely ditched my whole business, and I moved to Mexico, and I lived on the beach, and I, sought enlightenment and danced on the beach.
Yeah.
Started dancing salsa and completely, like you said, shunned the form.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the whole journey and coming to this place where I am now truly feels like a miracle. And in a way, I feel that that's part of orgasm too, is grace. We can't force an orgasm.
No.
And, like I couldn't have arrived at where I am now earlier than now.
Hey, women. Yeah. Yeah, me neither. So beautiful. So beautiful. Oh, so tantalizing to hear. I think we gave, it's funny because in the two previous interviews that have happened so far, orgasm came up each time. Maybe it'll just be a through line through all of them, but we really, I feel like that feels like a delicious, solid yes. I wonder if I should try to say it in the shortest way possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I always like to say a little more than that, but so it's almost a meta definition. It's the like the mama umbrella. The mama umbrella of what is orgasm is when the feminine principle and the masculine principle are in dynamic interchange, each bringing their best, the best of what they are as a principle, and yeah, to whatever endeavor or experience we're having. There it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I would add at the beginning maybe like the moment of grace when they come together, like when they're not fighting each other. I liked when you said that they're not
when they're not fighting,
where they're in concert and
yes, in concert, not fighting. There, add that, I like that too. The moment of grace when they are not fighting, but rather actually having a conversation, which I think is what good sex is anyway.
And mutually supporting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Like, oh, great. You've got the container. I've got all the good juice. Let's get together. Otherwise, we have an empty container and a lot of juice on the floor.
Oh my God. That's a perfect visual.
Yeah, they really want to hang out. They really want to. And oh boy, all of these trains go to, that's why I'm limiting them to little chunks, little cards, and little exercise and little thought bits, because my mind swims with this. And I can't very well go say, hi, nice to meet you. Would you like to taste the ocean?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the masculine, bringing it together into this. Yeah, and I just think of this new website that I've built. Unlike my previous websites, you know, where I had a huge long page all
Yeah.
about me and like I had so much stuff on there. This is like I put the minimal amount of things possible on this website. It is
Yeah.
so simple. There's
Oh,
one tiny paragraph about me, and I just find it's so effective when people go on there. They know what they want and they get it, and they I feel like they have a good experience on that website.
that is delicious. I've looked there, but I think it was late at night and I was just appreciating its beauty, really. But I want to, I'm so attracted to simplicity. Simplicity almost made it in the deck as a card. Um, it's going to have to be a sub note in another because it's funny. There are words that, because when a creation is about to happen, I think whether it's a whether it's a spirit about to take human form, there's probably all like, no, me. Hey, I've been in line longer than you. Because it's like that with this. I actually, as it gets like, now the cards are already set in their, in design, and we're moving to, it's in physical, it's coming into this physical form. One word that I had taken off the list, I kept seeing it everywhere. I had to go remajigger. I had to go remajigger, and one had to leave so that this one could come back in. And I think those simplicity can, I think this is just the thing. I'm gonna, until I absolutely can't change anything, there's gonna be taps on the door. Simplicity say, "Hey," but simplicity. Where did that come up? It's such a relief to me, and as we are in this, I love how you call it the grand reorganization. I often call it the Great Awakening. But as as humanity and planet Earth and all that we share, all living things that we share this earth with, are, well, those other living things are pretty happy now that we've been not driving. And but simplicity is one of the things on the other side, I would say. Simplicity with a capital S, on the other side of, or coming in that direction, coming into the direction of living more simply, and more, all that comes with that. Well, we're headed there. um oh, I'm looking at these two here. Hmm. Do we want to look at sensitive versus hard?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. So this card comes from the frame suit. It's and the frames they're all set up in this something versus something, because there's some kind of polarity, or perceived polarity, or, and in this, it's, so first just tell the definition of of sensitivity as a genetic trait, because that's what this is referring to. That about 80% of all humans and all other living species are highly sensitive. And because of their genetics, and I definitely count myself in that group, and because of our genetics, we process far more than the 80% of the population does. Um, on an emotional level, on a physical level, all the levels, on a spiritual level, we're literally taking in more information. And that often is, um, a highly sensitive person may genuinely feel the emotions of the 19 other people in the room, and maybe even the people down the block, or this is one example. And something needs to be done with that. It's not, there isn't a switch we can just flip. And for the rest of the population, they're not sensitive. All humans are sensitive, but there's a lovely term, and I don't know if it was Eileen Aaron who originally did the research to determine this highly sensitive person category, or Annie Axford, who has really taken the highly sensitive person work and run with it. I'm hoping to interview Annie on this series. Um, there's another card that I've saved for her, because I was thinking to save this one, but there's another card just dedicated to sensitivity. I'm saving that for Annie. I think it might have been Annie who came up with Hardy, but in either case, it just means that not as much of the information in the environment requires processing. It doesn't get on the list. It's not perceived. And since that's a lot of the population, 80%, this 15 to 20%, often sensitivity is maligned. It's often seen as, oh, weakness, or something went wrong. You must not be well, get with the program. I heard so much growing up, oh, you feel too much. Because by the standards of a culture that is about getting things done in a certain time frame and a certain way, feelings and sensitivity can get in the way of that value. And yeah, even when I think about it, I have grief because I've spent a lot of my life, as have other highly sensitive people, feeling like something was wrong and needed to be fixed. And I've spent a lot of time. I mean, this is an interesting thing. I love all the time I've spent on spiritual and personal growth. And the interesting thing is, if I could have spread it out and had some of the hardy people in my life do just maybe 20% of the amount I was doing, I think we might have come together in a lot more harmony and compassion for each other sooner. It tends to be that highly sensitive folks keep thinking something's wrong and keep trying to fix it, when actually we're fixed. It's not even a fixed thing. We're fine. We just need to, actually, this ties in very well to the masculine and feminine bit. We just need to develop containers for ourselves that are authentic and helpful, and share the gift through the freaking container. Oh, yeah. There isn't a thing. It's so enticing to keep trying to find the thing that is wrong. This gets into a subtle thing, because I'm not saying, oh, sensitive people don't do your inquiry and don't do the soul retrieval and don't, work on revising old beliefs. I don't mean any of that, but I think we might actually need to do a little less and just a little more stepping into our leadership.
Yeah, and I like your definition of that, of our part of how we lead is by creating the boundaries that are going to work for us to be ourselves.
Oh, can you say that again? That's so beautifully articulated.
Yeah, the way that we can create the boundaries. And really, to me, the way I look at it is like creating the environment in which I can be me. A certain plant needs certain amounts of light and moisture, and so like I know I'm learning what I need to be me. And like my most recent relationship, this happened, and I feel I've known this, like all my childhood, people said you're too sensitive, and then just recently I have been feeling more and more sensitive. I think part of opening up to channeling, I have made myself more permeable.
Yeah.
And in that, I have been feeling a corresponding need to meet that with becoming more hardy. So,
I love that you're saying both at once. Yes.
yeah. So like even just focusing on strengthening my body and like my diet and having a home where I know I'm not going to have to move, and just being more rooted and grounded, spending time with the earth every day. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't do all these things, but these are the things that make me well.
Yeah.
And physical touch,
Yeah.
But yeah, when I left this past relationship, he said, I think there's something wrong with you. Like, I think there's, like an imbalance or something's wrong with you. And I said, okay, well, maybe there is. I don't know. Like, maybe there is something wrong with me. So I, I went to this woman and, like I've been, I always go for help.
I know,
And
me too.
I tested all my hormone level, blood and all this. And she's like, you have the most healthy levels of anyone I've seen in 5 years. So that was really affirming. Not to say I don't have other things I can work on. It's just, I think what you're saying is often right, that sometimes the problem's not with us. Sometimes the problem is in the environment is not right for us.
Yeah. We're having to, and we, again, if you've just tuned in, is highly sensitive people, HSPs called, are having to, because the containers and the boundaries that we need don't exist, we're having to create them. And for the person who is spilling out in all directions, for us to be the ones that need to create it, it is a large labor. If we had some, I mean, almost like templates at birth. Okay, you're coming in with this amount of sensitivity. Would you like template A, B, or C? I think this could be arranged. It's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah, and I think also that's why a word that I'm using is fortify. We
Oh,
need to fortify ourselves by being around other people who really understand the nuances and see the subtleties that we see.
yeah.
So, I meet with a woman once a week who's so sensitive energetically, and she helps me realize I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that helps me be in this world. That helps me simply exist and function.
Um, I think I want to name the hierarchy of needs being turned on its head. And this definitely came through uh, Annie Axford of sensitive leadership. So Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first one he made didn't go up to transcendence. At the beginning, I think it might have just had 3 tiers, and the bottom is, physical safety and shelter, really, really tangible body stuff, having enough food, having shelter, being safe from physical harm. I think it might have just gone up a couple levels to the love and belonging area. And then over time he added on as afterthought. This is so ironic, as an afterthought. Oh yeah, then self-actualization and transcendence. I'm not naming all the categories, but that's the direction. And then Annie, through her perceiving and experiencing of her own sensitivity and working with lots of people, turn that whole pyramid upside down for highly sensitive people, because we begin and we are most rooted, if we're rooted in anything, it's in transcendence. And it's in our keen sensing that actually exists. If you look at the chakras, transcendence is up here. It's not even in the body. But this is where we start. This is home. This is home. And then there's this slow progression as we come into health and come into ourselves and individuate. We really come from this more amorphous place into human form. We're slowly coming down, and the very last thing we hit is physical safety. That actually makes so much sense for me. And having enough food. This is not true for all highly sensitive people. I didn't have food consistently and reliably in my fridge until just a couple of years ago. And it wasn't because I didn't have money for food, it was because I didn't automatically prioritize my body's needs. So I would just be doing projects and working and then realize, oh my God, I'm hungry. Like it's a big surprise no food in the house. And then I would, so for me, part of this fortifying it and this coming home into my body um, has been a very tangible, physical, just the things, money and shelter, they're the final grail for me. They're the final step. I didn't, didn't start with them. I didn't start with them as an obvious one. And many people do. The majority of people focus on taking care of the basic needs first. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I, this one feels more daunting to say in a short way. What is a short way? Should I try to say in a short way the differences between sensitivity and hardiness?
Yeah.
Okay. So, can I pass you the potato? Would you try a stab? Thank you.
Yeah, what I understood is sensitivity and hardiness exist as a spectrum, and certain people are thinner skinned. They're receiving more information from their environment on all levels.
Yeah.
And others are more hardy and thicker skinned.
Yeah.
And we do well to merge a little bit and honor each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. Thank you. And I'm going to add to it, and that sensitive folks who are more highly sensitive do well to discover and put into place the boundaries and containers that hold them and support them, but authentically, not somebody else's version, like really test it out themselves. And hardier folk, I'd say hardier folk, maybe expose yourself to a little more art. That's a really good way. Or spend more time in nature if you're wanting to, or music, listen to more music, dance. I'm actually moving into a card that I think we will talk about dancing. All of these ways can, like, put your feet in the ocean or a lake. Sensual, which is so perfect. Look at me segueing. I think all of those things, nature and art and touch too.
I wonder though if people who are hardy, I feel like a lot of hardy people do enjoy the physical realm, but maybe what they feel like they're lacking is transcendence. Like, I have
no, you're
right.
I'm giving things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How?
And I find people are, often curious, like, how do you channel? Like, how can I connect with God in my meditation? How can I achieve that union, And they don't easily go there.
Do you have a recommendation then? If they're desiring to sort of, if a hardier person is desiring to increase their sensitivity, I think that historically, there has not been the notion that they would want to, even because it's serving them to live in their hardy nature for kind of normal success. And why would they want to get all messy with feelings and have to deal with so I mean, that's a question in its own.
Yeah, well, I have a video that I created called How I Became a Channel, and I find people are really curious.
Yeah.
And a couple of the steps, I think the biggest one is meditation and learning how to still the mind and just be quiet. And then beyond that, taking that a step beyond and using that quiet time to say, I want to connect with God or all that is, or consciousness itself. Like, I'm available, I'm open, I'm desiring to connect.
Yeah.
And then it's a practice.
I love that.
But the more you sit in quiet, then that's when all your childhood memories of blah 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 surface. So it's going to go hand in hand with healing and inner work.
Yeah. Women. What's the name of, do you remember the name of that?
The video is How I Became a Channel. Yes. 6 Steps to Becoming a Channel.
And Karen McMullen YouTube.
Yeah. Thanks.
And this is the one I didn't let it be completely random. I hope that's okay. Sensuality.
You hold it a little bit closer to the camera. There you go.
Sensuality.
Awesome.
I thought so. Because, I want to give a little plug to Sarah K. Jones and her healing archetypes, which I recommend anyone take the quiz, even if you don't consider yourself a healer, but especially for healers of any kind, coaches, therapists, and all healers.
Because I think it's not just about being a healer, it's also about how you heal.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah. It's a very beautiful system, which you can get access to by, I think the website is Healing Archetypes. It's not hard to find online. Sarah K. Jones, Healing Archetypes. And I happen to know there are 8 healing archetypes. And without going deeply into that system, both Karen and I have in our makeup, mine is my lead and Karen as veiled, I think.
Yeah.
But it means it's a feature of us and how we work. It's called the sensualist. And it's very much I'm using sensuality in this sense of sensualist. So I actually have to pause and remember that when I say sensuality, for me, it so much means that what I'm going to say that I don't even remember what it might have used to mean. For some people, sensuality, they just have it as a substitute for sexuality. And they are one and the same. And while for me, I want to have sensuality in my sexuality, it's a much bigger, just like orgasm is the bigger umbrella, sensuality and it's me feeling what I feel on a sensation level and in emotional level too, but especially on a sensation level. How does it feel in my body when I circle my shoulder? How does it feel in my body when I shimmy my shoulders? It's the feet. I know how my sensuality is when I have my own raw data, my very own raw data, which is such a relief to me to have because I can so easily be processing other people's data. So sensuality and movement, it brings me back to exactly here, exactly this one. And please tell me, I know sensuality is a big thing in your life. Tell me about sensuality for you.
Yeah, well, oh my gosh, what do I say about it? Sensuality, just being in connection with what my body feels and what feels good makes me happy.
Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you for adding that. And what feels good, because it might seem, especially to a heartier person, which is 8 out of 10 folks. Like, of course, I know that this feels good and that doesn't feel good. For highly sensitive folks, this is not always obvious because I'm working with the information. Well, maybe my partner, if I think this feels good, I'll have a better relationship with my partner or my mother or my employer, whoever that other person or people are, or my whole culture. If I think that this feels good. So it can feel like I might lose belonging with those whom I love and my people if I actually know, oh, this feels good and this doesn't feel good. Yeah. It's kind of revolutionary. It can be very scary to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good.
And to speak it.
Oh my God. I've made a show. It reads so much better to write it and then say it, but I'll say it. And those who are visual will get it. New word, K, open parenthesis, N-O, close parenthesis, W, which is the double meaning of I know with my head and I know as a verb. Yeah, the saying no and this, which goes just hand in hand with, it's just telling the truth. It's much easier to tell the truth when it's yes. I agree with you. Much harder to tell the truth when it's no. Even for me to say that, my whole body has I have a little jump in my stomach. No, that doesn't feel good. No, I won't respond if you talk to me that way. No, I'd prefer this. So funny, we got to know from sensuality.
Yes.
But
yeah, well, I feel like no is so important to sensuality because, well, one of the messages that I've channeled is about how deeply embedded ignoring our physical, sexual, sensual, I'll meld them there, selves is for women, that women just, it's so messed up historically, and we've all received that heritage. So the default setting that we are born with is not actually listening to our real yes and our real no. And then beyond that default setting, a lot of women have had experiences in this lifetime where they have been violated and their sense of what is a yes and what is a no is already skewed. And so in that environment of a skewed sensual self and relationship to your sensuality, it's harder to be sensual because you don't have that like safety to just enjoy what feels good.
I'm thinking back to childhood, and in one way, sensuality, how alive and well our own sensuality is, can see in anything that is related to any kind of appetite. So for food, as a single digit child, I had such a beautiful, my sensuality was alive and well in my relationship with food. It's like, I knew when I was hungry, I ate just the amount that was wonderful, and I stopped. And there wasn't a punishment reward relationship. It was just, oh, that's yay, yum, and oh, then done. So it was so beautiful. It got messed up in my teens, and I'd say by my 30s, I came back to being in a lovely place. But I don't know if it's quite as lovely as it was in my single digits yet. So any, not, I mean, especially any physical, like if I really listen to my body, would I sit on my butt at the computer as many hours as I do? No. So my sensuality in relationship to movement, even though I do movement and I do walk and I do dance, it's actually, I've quieted that sensual need a bit. I manipulate it a bit.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, in this pandemic, I have not been dancing. I've been doing yoga,
Yeah.
which for me is sensual, but not dancing
Yeah.
is so bad for me.
Yeah.
But I haven't felt well, I started dancing this week, but up until this week, I just didn't feel like dancing. I just didn't feel like it. I was kind of just depressed, or not depressed, but just
Maybe physically depressed. I think there
yeah,
are different expressions of
physically
depression.
just
Yeah.
yeah, not yeah, and so it was like a stagnation and but yeah, I definitely relate to you about, the goals that I have for my life, and I know that I need to do to be happy on the big scale
Mm-hmm.
is involving quite a lot of computer and screen time.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's a real need for the sensuality. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. And I want to just name this, this is sensuality is in the revel suit, the reveling in your body suit. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, should we do a short, what? An
I
essay?
just want to say the most amazing sensual experience I've ever had
Yeah.
Well, maybe swimming with dolphins, but the other one was going to Cuba for a salsa vacation.
I saw a little evidence of that. That was within the last 6
That
months.
was in November, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Beautiful.
it was just so amazing to be in a place where the whole culture is about reveling in the body.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
everyone is so embodied.
Oh, thank you for, yeah, yay. Thank you for reminding me of that to come to mind. I love um one was the first time I danced in San Francisco's Carnival Parade, which was really, I mean, that's one of those that there was my life before then and there was my life after because it changed a lot. This was 1997, May, 23 years ago. And that dancing in the street to live music in a sea, in a beautiful curated sea of people, costumed, and I mean the sensuality. Ah, and then really that's very directly related to us getting to be here in this moment talking because it led to me creating Hot Pink Feathers, the dance company, 20 years ago, and being deeply involved with that company for 10 years, and then realizing it had a mother. The mother was Showgirl Awakening, of which all these cards are touching the notes on. It's the, um, yeah, the divine feminine said, hey, you've been working on something. It's really beautiful. Why don't you start to articulate it and just own that shit? And so 10 years ago, I started having my articulator open, which is a mass, which is a container of which even in this hour with you here, thank you, Karen, I feel better able, because the deck is happening. So my articulator better catch up really fast.
I'm sure it will.
This has been so delightful. Maybe we can do it again sometime.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I
So
learned a lot. That was valuable for me. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Um, we're gonna stay here, but we're gonna say goodbye to all you lovely people. Goodbye. See you. See you in the next interview. So delighted that you're here with us. And you can find out, I'll have some links for Karen and for the deck and all below if you're seeing this in a visual way. Ciao.